Excellent. Thank you. This is good news. I'm not going to open this up in full screen view because I'm afraid that that might mess with things. So I apologize. You're going to have to see the Acrobat information around it. But of course, what we're talking about is when using media, when others can't imagine who you really are, what matters to you, something about the world that is important. And so we did the pre-survey. I'm going to talk a little bit about working with text and image. When I'm done, it'll be your turn to work in some breakout rooms on some ideas of your own, to think about how these two elements, text and image, might work together to be more powerful, to explain your perspective more fully. When that's over, we'll do a quick chat and then a quick post survey. So let me, and there's the 5 minutes. Okay, let me tell you how I got to Qatar, because I teach half the year there, and it's a place near and dear to my heart. And how I got there was when I was visiting. I was sitting in a class, and a student said at the end of it, she came up to us, a student in the COB, a woman, and she said, "How do we get them to quit hating us?" And that's what got me here, because it's such an important question. We need to be able to communicate in ways that help us see the other more completely. So what does that really mean, though? To me, it means, how do we get them to quit imagining their wrong version and help them see who we really are? And so what we're going to look at are some examples that I think move people from a problematic imagining to who we really are. And we're going to consider doing that in two ways. So what you're going to learn is how to clarify when they're imagining incorrectly and how to contradict their problematic perspective. Whoops. So, little thought experiment. Think about these words, and what do you imagine when you read those words? What do you see? What do you think? What's going on? Okay, now, I don't know if this will change anything for you, but think about what you imagine now. If that changes anything, it might or might not. But there are two ways of thinking about breaking out. And I'm going to show you both and how images influenced, clarified, and contradicted the obvious meaning of this text. So the first one is breaking out. Really joyous, happy clarification of what breaking out could mean to this young Black American girl. So, it clarifies the ordinary meaning of the words breaking out to see a positive future of inclusion. But there is another way to see these words, and a famous graphic designer named Herb Lubalin did that in the late 1960s. And here's what he did. So here you see that breaking out is not happening, it's constrained. This boy has it's a fence, but it's basically bars in front of his face, not allowing him to pass. And so it contradicts the ordinary meaning of the words breaking out. And you can see that the words are a lie. So one of the things that I want you to think about as you go on to do your own work is, when is the ordinary meaning of words like breaking out, not the meaning that people should take away? So we can think about this as clarifying that ordinary meaning or contradicting. But that's not the only way that we can use image and text. Let me give you another same kind of thing where the text suggests something. So it's just stuff. I mean, think about all the stuff you have, the stuff we don't need. And then consider stuff from a different perspective. This is from a website called placespent.org that I hope everybody will go to, because it does that kind of it makes you think about ideas that usually you don't think about too much. And in this case, there's a new way to think about stuff. So when the poor think about stuff, they're thinking, do I have enough? Can I light my home? Can I feed my child? Can I give my child comfort? And so this is a way of putting images together with language to make a very powerful statement. So when you are considering the image, you want to show the person or place or thing that these other people cannot imagine in a way that will be clarified or contradicted by the text. Similarly, in the same way, when considering the text, you have to include the phrase, the question, the demand, and just a small amount of text that will be clarified or contradicted by the image. So the rest of my examples revolve around what the world has been experiencing now in the Black Lives Matter movement. But I'm from the US, and so it is starting from here. Oh, I'm getting a message that it's a whiteboard that I'm sharing and not the presentation. Let me just. I just want to let them know that I didn't go to the whiteboard. Okay, but I see now it's working. So I'm just going to quickly let you see what I think you might have missed. So I'm going to start back here. Okay, and just quickly go through this. So the words breaking out, they mean something, they have an ordinary meaning. Again, they have an ordinary meaning that might have changed because it's black text on a white background instead of white text on a black background. And you can clarify the words breaking out. Positive future of inclusion. But not everybody is feeling that way. So the honest truth might be, we say breaking out, but we aren't feeling breaking out. And so now you put a different kind of image, a different kind of text to show that these words are a lie. Two different ways of seeing breaking out, both very powerful messages. And so what I want you to think about is that small amount of text and that very precise image doesn't have a lot of extra information to it. It allows the audience to just hone in on those two things, the image and breaking out, and what that means. And here then is also, it's just stuff. Again, think about all the ways that that stuff just kind of overwhelms us. But for the poor, that is not the case. Stuff is a little more critical. It's taking care of your home, it's feeding your children, it's giving them comfort. And so stuff becomes a little bit more shocking because it is aligned with these things that are necessary. So if you've got an audience who thinks that everybody, including the poor, just have too much stuff, and if they would just tone it down, they'd be fine, this website is going to contradict that thinking. Okay, so again, using the image, you can't allow somebody who can't imagine you properly free rein. You have to narrow things down by showing them the person, place, or thing, an image of it, so that they aren't imagining improperly. And with the text, you are using a phrase, a question, a demand, a very small snippet of text that will be clarified or contradicted by the image. And so, again, the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm in the US, it's currently, came from Qatar just a little while ago, but I know that there is still an awful big group of people who are saying all lives matter. Why are we singling out Black lives? Because one of the things they're not thinking about is they're imagining some unfair associations with Black Americans and hoodies, for example. And so there have been some really sad situations that happen because of this unfair association. So what do we do about it? How do we clarify or contradict that unfair association? Because we know that they are not making that unfair association for everyone, only for some. Okay, so how do we show this man as he really is? Because he's like quite a famous man, as it turns out. We have to show this misunderstood person and use evidence to prove a misunderstanding. And we have to make sure that image and text are immediate and equal contributors. So let me show you a couple ways that it won't work and then a way that it could work. Oops. Okay, so first thing, this is a problem. The evidence is hidden. If you look, I'm hoping you can see this way down here, you'll see owns a successful watch company. The text is not an equal contributor. Chances are that they are not going to see this. Okay. Just got another little message. Okay, chances are that they're never going to see that he owns a successful watch company. So their imagining will not change. It's too small, it's too vague. Another way of considering this is to make a claim. I'm harmless. Just let me wear my hoodie. But that's a claim without proof. And we need some kind of proof for that group that can't imagine differently. They need something to give more weight to the new idea. So something like this gives more weight. The text is larger. There's an additional image that shows him in another setting. And so you see that William Adosi is the CEO of Vitae Watches, which creates beautiful design and with maximal social justice. This is not just a man in a hoodie. This is a CEO of a watch company. So the evidence makes people stop and think and wonder. It might not change their minds yet because you need that to keep that coming over and over. Okay, so how do you make this real person stronger than what's imagined? You give them evidence. That's going to help them change their associations. You give them evidence that clarifies your perspective, which isn't new, but they'll see it as new, or contradicts this problematic point of view. Okay, think about the words dangerous criminal. In the US, we have a disproportionate number of Black Americans in jail, and they should, it's not right. We have to figure out what's happening there. But let's also revisit this idea of who the dangerous criminal is. So he's a cute kid. I really like him. Is he a dangerous criminal? We want to challenge the way they're thinking, contradict the assumptions they might have, even if it's just implicit bias. Consider the Americans expanding the new world. That's a very positive statement. 1619, people are exploring. It's a very exciting time. Positive text. It's also the year that slaves were brought into the Americas. So now we have the evidence of the negative image that shakes up this mistaken point of view. And so we need to keep doing this in this case until we don't have to work so hard to see that Black lives do matter. Okay, so I want you to think about how images act as evidence, how text can have different kinds of meanings depending on what it's the images it's put together with, and how that can affect the way that this audience that doesn't understand have a chance to better understand. Okay, so when others can't imagine as a community as they really are, don't ask them to imagine. You can't just use text alone. Clarify your perspective or contradict theirs with visual as well as textual evidence. Okay, so now, fingers crossed, it's going to be your turn. I hoped to upload a PowerPoint file, to give you a PowerPoint file. It does not seem that this interface is going to accept that. So I changed it into a PDF file. I want you to start by thinking about what unfair perspectives you want to address. And the images that you're going to see include ways of dressing, ways of environments that other people don't understand, perhaps. And I'm hoping that I've captured some images that resonate with you. But if I didn't, you can also look to a Google search to find that image that does resonate. And then you're going to add text that clarifies your point of view or contradicts theirs. I've added some semi-prompts to help you get started. And then you want to think about, does this image and this text provide proof of the truth of your perspective and how you think that this might be changing minds? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing these slides and I'm going to try and show you the PowerPoint of what you're going to be working with, and then see if you have any questions before we get started. Okay, so okay, so I hope, oh, I'm just seeing that you couldn't hear any of this. Can you hear me? Yes, exactly. I see showing the image is more meaningful than, okay. Okay, you can hear me. All right. Gosh. Okay, so I am going to see if I can attach, yay. I'm going to see if I can attach this file for you. And then we're at it for a second together. It's so good to I can't really see you all, and I wish we could all be in person, but I'm so glad you're here. So this file seems to be stuck at about 94%. There we go. It says 100%. Oh, did that work? Oh, I just got an error. Try again. Let me just ask if my IT guy can share that with you, so that I don't have this. You share the PowerPoint. Won't upload for me. Great. Okay, so if to see the screen, click on the reactivate button. Do I have one? Hi. No, I don't. To this PowerPoint is taking care of IT is going to, but I might need to send the PDF. But what I'm going to do is to share this. Oh, I see a question. program. So the question is, the economy in some Arab countries does not all something participation in arts and sports. What are the programs for reviving the economy in these countries? So I have to tell you that this, I am not an economist, and this is a session about media. So you might want to go to a different session, the one on sports and the economy. Okay, click on refresh. Let's see. So, and if that doesn't work, we're going to try this a little differently, and we won't go into breakout rooms. But we will do this this work together. But I'm just seeing if it's going to upload this. No, it didn't. Okay, so I'm going to share. Oh, can you all hear? Can you hear me? My mic is on. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to share a different screen. If I can make that happen. There we go. Okay. And here we go. Okay, so can you all see this PowerPoint? Okay, good. Oh, you have it. Okay. Okay, so here's what I want you to think about. The important thing here is the image has to have a limited amount of information, because you don't want your audience looking at other stuff in the picture that's not what matters to you. And they will do that if there's too much stuff in the picture. And you don't want to say a lot to them. This might be followed by a longer text, but what you want to do is give them something so powerful, just like breaking out, that they have to stop and think about it, just like 1619. Okay, so what I've done is I found some images, and I don't know if these are going to be the ones that resonate with you, but maybe they will be. So what do others misunderstand about place represented by the images that I have on the side, which I'll show you in a second? And then what short phrase might clarify or contradict that misunderstanding to help people have a better idea of who you are in ways that would improve your sense of peace, security, and inclusion. So some prompts to get started. Niqab is not a whatever that might be. Hijab is, what is power? Writing code for, I don't know what. Peace is, I belong because. A gutra is not whatever people have mistaken it for. So an example, a small amount of text here, large enough for them to read, because remember, the evidence cannot be hidden. Fewer words are more effective and in a place where they can see them. So you can click in this area and change this to the language that you think would help to counter any misunderstandings that people might have when they look at this picture, if you think they do. This image, beautiful image. This, an image like this. Gentleman here. What this might suggest. This child. Another woman. More children. Again, fewer words are more effective. Less information in the image is important. So if these images are not the right ones and you want to go find something else, Remember, limited information. So we want seeing and reading to happen almost simultaneously. They can't actually happen simultaneously, but we want that feeling that it's so quick that it feels like it's all at once. And then if you want to find an image and you have some thoughts about some text that would fit with it, I've given you a blank screen. Certainly you can make more. And the last screen is just where the images came from. So I'm going to quit sharing. And now I want to give you time. You'll have about 20 minutes to play with this. And instead of going into breakout rooms, which I'm a little bit worried about, especially with all the people we have here, if you have a question, put it in the Q&A, and I will answer those as they come up. And when you're done, I would love to see any PowerPoints that you want to send to me. That would be fantastic, because I know you're going to come up with some really cool stuff. But you have now about, like I said, 20 minutes to work through this problem, to think about what are the ways that others do not understand where I'm coming from, or who I am, or who my community is, or what my country's about, and how might a small amount of text provide evidence that they are wrong and need to rethink this. Okay, so you get to it, and if you've got a question, just send me something in the Q&A, and I will do my best to answer it. Existential questions. Yes, you're right. Existential questions are not easy to answer. It takes a little time. So the PowerPoint, I think everybody has that. Did everybody, does anybody, you don't have the PowerPoint? Okay. So we're gonna have to try something different. What do you think? Yes, actions speak loudly, visuals speak loudly. Okay, so since I'm seeing that some have the PowerPoint. No, is it a link for the PowerPoint? Let me see. Because the link I gave you was for the survey. Okay, so let's try something else. So you're going to open up, I hope everybody has PowerPoint. Okay, that's the link for the PowerPoint. So there is a link that's right here again. And if you click on this link, you should be able to get the PowerPoint. Thank you. Okay, so I'll type that in. Oh, good, good. All right, so the reason that I put the text prompts is because I think a lot of times clothing from one culture to another is misunderstood. So that's why some of the prompts are there. The idea of what power is misunderstood. The idea of the things that people are working on gets misunderstood. So if you don't have the PowerPoint, thank you. If you don't have the PowerPoint, go up in the Q&A a little bit and you'll see the link. It's a Google Drive link and you can get it from there. The link isn't opening. Is anybody getting the link to open? Okay, so we've got another link. Okay, so some folks are getting the link to open, but not everybody. Okay, that's frustrating for both of us. And just, gosh, I mean, I know everybody in IT is trying really, really hard. Oh, copy and paste it. It won't open directly. So you want to copy and paste that link, and then you can get it to open. Okay. So, I mean, IT is really saving my life here, and thank you guys. If you really get stuck and it just won't work for you, then what I do is to go to Google Images and find something that is either like what I put in the PowerPoint, or something that feels more important to you. So for my example, I use the hoodie because those such powerful underlying imagined meanings, and I want to contradict that. A lot of people want to contradict that. So you could also do that. Please share some of your experience. Experiences about peace movements. So when we had in the States what is a continuing problem with immigration, which absolutely breaks my heart. I went to several marches that we had in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is I don't know if you know where Pennsylvania is, but it's kind of right next door to New York. Peaceful gatherings, and what was so wonderful about that was seeing all these children who, young American kids who were going to grow up to care about more the ability for people to come into my country. That stays with me. And these kids made signs, and it was just a way of showing that we care. Yeah. Oh, so I'm seeing that someone says they can't edit the PowerPoint. So once again, anytime if you're running into a problem that don't feel like you can solve, then go to Google Images and just type in those couple of keywords and see if you can find something similar. There was another experience. As I said, I spend a lot of time working in Qatar. And I came home, it was that same year, and so many people had signs in their yards about how everybody matters and everyone is welcome. And they were in lawns everywhere that I was walking. And it just said to me a lot about our community. So open with Google Drive. If you're having problems, open with Google Drive or download the PowerPoint, and then let's see, client on enable editing. And then click on enable editing. I think that there are more people who care about each other than don't. But it's important that we don't lose sight of people who don't understand. Okay, so an example of what to write. So the image that I had with the woman in, I believe it wasn't niqab, but it was something like that. One of the things I would be thinking about is, what does this woman do? in her life. So it's just lots of activities, I would imagine. And I would try to think about what is the proof of that. Now, it's going to be harder for you to find the proof of that whenever you don't have a specific person, like I did with Adosi. But you can think about what people are doing in their day. It's like, my dress does not define me. That might be something that I put with a picture of a woman who is covered. For a Western audience, that it can be a difficult decision to understand. And so, if you can show them, because when people don't understand something, they define it for themselves, and they make it less than because they want their own perspective to have more weight. So I think that with that picture, I would say something like, my dress does not define me, I am and then list the things that this woman is all about. I put that one picture with of the two guys with the headdress because it's kind of reminded me of the hoodie picture, that it was something that people could really misunderstand. And so if just like the hoodie, some people might see it with danger instead of dress, what should that association be? Or a gutra is, what is it for? Why do I wear it? What do you need to know about that in order for somebody else to really understand you? What do people know? What is hijab? What do people need to know about it? How does hijab make a woman powerful? Because it does so in ways that are different than not wearing one. So I hope that helps. Okay. Racism is always a problem for youth and everyone, let's see, in the whole world. But during my visit to some countries, I have noticed it's more, it's very harmful. Yes, I mean, absolutely. These questions of race are so detrimental, which is why I wanted the overview to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, because I think that for the first time, because of the videos that people have been posting, in part, and the texts that go with them, we're starting to understand that what's going on is wrong. But I think it's these little moments of not being frustrated with people, of instead just saying, you don't understand, let me clarify, you don't get it, let me show the contradiction in what you're saying, eventually starts to break down some of those walls, which are, pretty strong, I think. And that's my goal, to create media where there is more of an opportunity for us to understand each other, for those walls to come down and not be so angry at each other. So how to make powerful messages other than through pictures. I think certainly the sequence of a video has, it's not the topic that we're talking about today, but there's this really cool thing that you can do with video. You can let people imagine all of their misunderstandings and problematic assumptions, and then into that, you put a picture that contradicts their perspective. And why that's so powerful is they have opened up this memory nest, and now you've linked a new idea to it. And it's much harder to get rid of it. So I think that video time motion pieces, they have a lot of potential. But I think that also, as long as we remember, images need evidence. What is the piece that people are missing? So if a Black American man puts a hoodie on, and all I see, or all those other people see, is danger, what do I have to say so that they get that there might be a different message embedded in that hoodie? So I think those moments that we kind of hit people with their own prejudices and show them that they are possibly wrong. If we do it over and over and over and over again, then those walls, I believe, start to come down. Okay, so we've got about three more minutes. Well, so the question is, it's better to send messages through images than text, or we can do both. So I don't believe that it is better to send messages through images. I think it has to be both. Because if you just show someone an image, you allow them to do all that imagining. If just showing the picture of a hoodie, just the piece of clothing, allows people to imagine all kinds of negatives. I need text to counteract that problematic message. I need to say, this is a piece of clothing, not a crime. Thanks. Is it better to tackle emotions? I think emotions are tough, but certainly some of my examples involve emotion. So the young boy putting dangerous criminal next to his picture certainly taps into emotions. But the example of a dosi who's wearing a hoodie, I think that's less about emotion and more about, this is a man this is a man who's doing some pretty impressive stuff in the world. So I think, yes, emotion can play a part here. I think that facts can play a part here. Here in Pittsburgh, we have the Islamic Center, and the women who are in that Islamic Center, they are lawyers and dentists and accountants and doctors, and that's the information we had to get out because the people in the community didn't recognize that. So we needed factual stuff. Yes, emotions are easy to manipulate negatively. Yes. And positively. Yes, absolutely. But I think those emotions, when you're trying to alter them a bit, you want to not just, I don't want to think about manipulating somebody. I want to make them think. I want to make them question how it is they can hold their problematic assumptions in the light of this actual evidence. So let me just read this. I believe that appearance is a big disguise, is the biggest disguise. As people see images and understand them as their own desires, so people need to understand the reasons and facts behind these images and what appears from the front end, the difference between what appears from the front end. Absolutely. People see something and they make very quick associations and decisions about it. And the text helps to slow that down. But if you don't have the image, that also is problematic. They need to see the actual evidence and not imagine it, because people have tried to just persuade with text, and it often works. But sometimes we need more. Yeah, but I think that yes, you've nailed it. This idea of how much is attached to just what we see, but even more gets attached to what we imagine about what we see. So I know that we are getting close on time. I would love it if I could see some of what you've worked on. I'm gonna give you my email. And if you want to send me an attachment, I would love that. Yes, text is important because it helps to define the image or redefine the image. And the image is important because it also can help redefine the text. So it's not just going in one direction. It can go in either direction. You just have to start with one or the other. So do you want to start with the image and say, this is the thing I'm going to redefine through some textual evidence? Or do you want to start with the text and say, this is the default meaning that I am going to kind of turn on its head? So if I started with the text, is exploring the Americas really this wonderful adventure? Or is it something that a lot of people suffered for, which the image can show? With the PowerPoint, it's going to be hard for you to work on that PowerPoint if you haven't seen the original slides. But I'm glad you're here. So what we need to do in the closing minutes, does anybody have any final questions? Because what I would like for you to do is to fill out a post survey. It's going to take a few minutes, and let me find that window. Okay, so I can copy this link. Okay, so I'm putting a link in here, and it's going to ask you the same questions as the original survey did. Yes, so let me just pause myself here for a second. It's how you read the image, which is individual. And that's the problem. So if somebody interprets an image in the way that you do, then you don't need to include the image because you're already on the same page. But when somebody interprets an image which represents a person, a place, a thing, in ways that you know are problematic, that are hurting you, then it's the text that can help to redefine that, the evidence that's in the text. It won't happen all at once. We have to chip away at these prejudices so that we can all feel like we have more of a sense of peace, and we can feel like we have more of a sense of inclusion. So it's a longer process in using media in this way. Okay, so let me go back to the survey. Authorization is needed to access the survey. Okay, that's not going to happen. That's just odd. So if you are able to fill out the survey, that would be great. If it requires authorization, then I've got a problem. But what I'm curious about is how you now see, and if you just want to send me an email, if you don't mind me knowing who you are, if you can't fill out the survey, what is it that you now think about what text contributes to a message when both text and image are together, and what an image contributes to the message when they're both together? Okay. Needs permission. Oh my goodness. That's really unfortunate. And I know there's nothing I can do about that right now. So we've got a few minutes. And any other thoughts? Or maybe in the Q&A, you can just tell me, how is your perspective on the use of text and the use of image? Stayed the same, changed? What are your thoughts? And while you're typing, again, what I want you to remember is images need to be limited. The text also needs to be limited, and we need to be able to see both. So we almost get this kind of simultaneous experience. It's from your side. Just have to go to settings in the form and uncheck the restriction box. Okay, can I do that? It might be too late for me to do that. So that's unfortunate. Did not know that. Arrange a study circle. I don't know if I can do that, but it would be kind of an interesting, it's an interesting thought. Yes, having a picture can provide evidence to support your points. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not. If I had a little more time, but we've only got 3 minutes to go, I would definitely give you that authorization. I'm kicking myself that I didn't see that I needed to do that earlier. Yeah. So I needed to, when I made the Google form, give you authorization, which I didn't know I needed to do. So I think I'm just going to have to, unfortunately, not have that data, but anything that you want to put on the Q&A would be great. Thank you so much. That means a lot that you got something out of it. I worry about the kind of us, once again, us not being able to see each other, but thank you. That was that's much appreciated. Thank you. Appreciate it. It was good to see you all. It's good to have this interaction. Thanks. And once again, if you, thanks, yeah, so email would be the way to get in touch with me if you want to. And once again, my email is Hagan, Hagan, @cmu.edu. And if you want to send me any of the work that you did, that would be great. Yes, images and a few words, they really are powerful. They have to be the right words. They can't just be a claim. They have to include evidence. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for the PowerPoint. And I'm assuming that I can save this. So let me just ask. I think that's all saved. I can download it. Okay. I'll have to figure out how that's done. I'm hesitant to click on anything while you all are still here, but I know that our session is over. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. Oh, and I'll write my email again. Absolutely. Let's see this. Download. Huh. How do I get this downloaded? Okay, thanks everybody. I'm gonna try and download this. Oh, and also send me my email again.
We hope you enjoyed your second Virtual Empower workshop. Once again, we'd like to say a sincere thank you to the workshop facilitators and to you for your ongoing participation and commitment throughout our first Virtual Empower 2020. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of day 3. Tomorrow comes with more interesting topics and specialized speakers. Keep checking the conference agenda for any updates, and don't forget to keep using the hashtag Empower2020. Please join us in the webinar room tomorrow, and we are looking forward to seeing you again. Peace.